Yeah, so this is going to be essentially the class I called, it's called the power of the contact card. So it's kind of like a superpower, but basically the kind of the idea is that within the contact card you can do a lot of different things now. And that includes things like setting up smart plans, you can set up tasks, um, you can set up your neighborhood nurtures. You can also set up things like save searches, which is super useful. And it's kind of a way to jump into command without having to go through multiple apps all at once. So it's kind of intimidating at first when you see this screen and you see all the different apps in here and you're like, oh my God, there's so many different things. So within the contact card, you can literally kind of jump into that and you have access to about half of these right now, which is awesome. So where I want to start is I actually want to just start, and I always start with the marketing profile, which is under settings here. And if you went to any of my classes before, or if you've been to any of the previous trainings, you might have already set this up, but the marketing profile is important because once you have this filled out, it's basically a profile. And once you have it filled out, you can then have things branded pretty much instantly. You don't have to go back and forth filling things out. So things like your neighborhood searches or your website even, these will all be kind of pre-filled for you with the information you provide, which is great. So I like to kind of show that off first. And now what we can do is if we jump back to the home screen, and I like to just mention this red button up here. That's kind of like your shortcut key. And if you press that, it's going to show you kind of like all the different apps that are currently included within Command. So it's a good way to, if you're not sure what the icons are, you can see here I can hover over this red button, click it, and then I can get this little slide out menu. So I'm going to be mainly in contacts today, so we're only going to be really working with this one particular app. So I'm going to click into contacts, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a new contact, and then we're going to do a few different things with that. So right now I'm going to go to add contact on the right hand side. And if you notice right now with the contact screen, it's very, they minimalized a lot of it, so there's not a lot of clutter on the screen right now. So basically all you're going to see is your filters, your columns that you have currently available, and then things like import and add contacts. So it's very, very user-friendly. They made it a lot cleaner to look at. So I'm going to go here where it says add contact. And I'm going to put in a full name. So I was just working on a piece of art for somebody. I'm going to put in Aquaman. And we're going to put in this particular person's email address. And we'll also add a phone number as well. Now, for the owner, this is new. I noticed this. Right now, if it was a owner, this would be more for teams. So they must have just added this because I didn't see this before. See, every day that I go in here, there's something new. So select owner would be if I'm a rainmaker and I want to give that to a particular person on my team, I can select them from that list.
Do they send out a list of updates?
They typically on the dashboard you'll have on the right hand side kind of like a release notes menu, and it shows you all the different things that they updated over the course of the weeks. It's a good way to kind of go in there if you haven't been in it for like a week or two. You can see all the different updates that they've made. Some of these kind of go quiet and they'll put it into the list later on. Things like this, they might not actually mention, but it's little things like that when you go in and you notice it. It's usually just like a little tweak. Okay, so two other options here. Marking as a lead, that's just going to add them to my, I have a separate list for my leads, which will mark them with an L. And if I add them to a sales pipeline, it's going to take me directly over into opportunities, which I'm not going to do because I'm going to show you another way that you can do that. Tagging. So this is super important. This is mainly a way that you can group your contacts right now. And within Command, they don't have formal groups. They're you're using a tagging system. So in this case, I'll put Aquaman, he's a buyer, let's just say. And then maybe I'm going to say something for a custom tag, because you can write those in as well. I can type in anything I want. I'm going to say he's looking in Alpine, let's say. And when you start typing stuff in, you'll see here it gives you the ability to create a custom tag. So if I click Create Custom Tag, I can then give it a color if I want, to make it, a pop a little bit, whatever. I'll put this in this reddish orange color, whatever color that is, and we'll hit Add. So now we have two tags available, buyer and looking in Alpine, and I can add additional tags as I move along. Otherwise, that would be good enough for me right now. Now, another piece of information that I can add in is his primary address. Whoa. And we can also add additional information like how he would be contacted, whether he prefers to be contacted by email, phone, etc. We'll just put text. You can add additional contact information like emails and phone numbers. Now for primary address, that can be where they currently live. It can also be a location perhaps that they're looking in. I'm going to use, for this particular example, I'm just going to use the office address. So I'll put 25 Washington Street. And it pops up here because it automatically searches Google. So I'm going to put 25 Washington Street. Now I can also add additional info, social profiles, relationships, so like they have a spouse or children, whatever. You can also add those in as well. And what I want to do now is hit Create. So once I'm satisfied with everything that I've added in, I'm going to go ahead and hit Create. And this is where the magic happens. So now that we created our contact, you can see here he's currently on the top because he's the last one that I added in. And if I click on his name, you're going to see here there's going to be two different sections of this contact record. There's going to be a contact card on the left, and then on the right hand side is going to be kind of like an activity log / kind of like app shortcut. I'm not sure, I don't have like an exact name, but I'm going to call this a kind of like a shortcut card, and then we're going to have here a contact card. So this is going to have his primary information like his phone number and email. Things like the primary neighborhood, because right now it's actually disabled, but typically it would set up a neighborhood automatically. What I could also do is add a neighborhood directly from here, which I'll show you in a second. And then any additional information I have about this particular client, like their birth date or home anniversaries, relationships, companies, a lot of this is going to be optional info, but you can add in as much as you want. So now what I want to do is I want to add this person to a neighborhood search, and I can do that from here as well. Is everybody familiar with the neighborhood search? So basically what the neighborhood search allows you to do is create a hyper-local, kind of like a market update for your client. And what that will do is give them stats about homes recently sold or recently put on the market, what the average home price currently is, how many days on market. I think I said that already, but it's going to give you some of those stats, things like what the locals are saying or school systems, etc. So if I want to add them to a neighborhood search, you can do that from here just by hitting Add Neighborhood. And then what it's going to allow me to do is either search via a search bar, or I can find on map, which I also like to prefer because it allows me to kind of look on an interactive Google map and select locations specifically. So I'm going to use that one right now. I'll hit Find on Map. And it's going to geo-target that location that we set. So this is the primary neighborhood right now, which is Stillman. That's the one that they call it. So I'm going to select Stillman. I'm going to just click on it. And then maybe I want to select a few others around that area, which I can do here by just clicking. Or maybe I want to do something outside of this area. Maybe they want to get some updates about this particular part of New Rochelle, Pelham Manor. And we're going to hit Save. So now what that did was generated a neighborhood search for them. I didn't have to do anything special. I just basically said which neighborhoods I want to select. And then it creates this nice little landing page, and I'll show you that in a second as well. So that looks good. We're going to come back to this in a little bit. Now what I want to do is I want to show you the features on the right-hand side. So you have your timeline. Timeline is basically going to be like an activity log. It's going to say basically any sort of interactions I've had with that client, whether it be neighborhood searches I've set up, whether I spoke to them on the phone, whether I texted them, whether I, anything, sent them an email. All those things are going to appear in the activity log, and that's a good way to kind of see, when I last contacted this person, or, oh, hey, I noticed that, you've been doing some searches on my website. Is there anything I can help you with? So these are going to be things that the activity log or timeline are going to help you with. Very useful. Now, for things like tracking appointments or tracking transactions or tracking listings, you can use the tool here called Opportunities. And Opportunities is going to allow you to pop them into your sales pipeline. So in this case, it's a buyer. They'll be in my buyer pipeline. And I can pop them into, maybe we're on appointments right now. I can have them it's a good way to kind of organize myself. And I always like to use the example of the whiteboard some agents have. They'll have their listing side and buyer side, and then they'll write down all the transactions or opportunities that they currently have for what a particular person. So this is kind of like a digital way to keep track of that, and I find it to be a lot more easy to manage because you don't have to constantly be erasing a whiteboard, changing things around, due dates, etc. This is going to track all that. And then what it also does in turn is track your potential and probable income. So it's going to let you know based on particular opportunities that you currently have. It's going to let you know exactly what type of income you can expect. It's pretty awesome. Now to create an opportunity, it's just as simple as going to this side here on the right. It says create opportunity. And I'm going to go ahead and just hit create opportunity. And it's going to bring up a pop-up card. So you notice in Command there's going to be a lot of different pop-up cards. So in this case, what I want to do is I want to create a new opportunity. And I'm going to select the Market Center. And I can select the team if I'm on a team. Now opportunity type, this is where I can select whether it's on a listing end or buyer end or a rental lease end. I'm going to select buyer. And then for the client, because we're in the client's card already, it already auto selects them, so I don't have to search for them in here. You can also add a co-buyer, so if there's somebody else on the transaction with them, you can add them on. It's completely optional. Opportunity name, so that just can be, if you're familiar with dot loop when you're creating a loop, typically with the name, it's just a way to kind of keep track of what that loop is. Just a way to find it easier. So in this case, I can just call it, maybe it's, we can say Aquaman buyer, and we can just put something like 2/13/2020. You can also add custom tags if we want. Estimated close dates. Let's just put, let's say hypothetically we have one. We'll just put one in here for April. Time frame, maybe they're looking in the next 3 months. Budget, so this is where I can put the amount of money that they're willing to spend. So let's say it's 500. Commission rate, I'll just put in 3 for now. Now opportunity phase and stage. These are the pipeline items. So the phases are the pipeline items. So there's cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closing. So there's 5 different phases. And each phase has a set of stages that you can either use the default ones or that you can customize. So in this case, I'm going to select this as an active. And then for opportunity stage, I have a few in here already. So I'm going to just select showings. Let's just use that. And then the last option here is to create opportunity. So I'm going to hit create. And now I have this being tracked in my pipeline. So this is a pipeline item now. And it's currently under Aquaman buyer 213. And from within the opportunity, I can do things like add documents for compliance. You can also run your commission through here. So think of it as a green sheet, but way easier. We'll be having classes on that throughout the coming months for commissions. But you will be able to run your commission through here. You can upload your documents for compliance through here. So a lot of the things for your transaction can be managed directly in Command now. It's pretty awesome. And that's how you can create an opportunity directly through your contacts card. So you don't even have to navigate anywhere else to do that right now. I'm still in my contact card, as you can see. I didn't leave. So right next to opportunities, we have something called smart plans. And smart plans are awesome because these are your automation tools. Things like your email campaigns, your text reminders, your task lists. These are going to be all things that your smart plans will be able to do. And right now we have some built in that you can use. We're going to have custom ones soon as well where you can actually create your own workflows. It's going to be really awesome. But for now we do have some in here that you can actually set up. Now, if you recall before, I set up a neighborhood search for my client. And you're probably wondering, how do I distribute that to my client? There's a couple ways you can do it. You can text it to them because it's a link. You can also set them up on a smart plan, which is an email that can be sent to them either bi-weekly, so it'll be 2 times a month, or you can send it to them monthly, so they'll get an email from you every month with updates about those particular neighborhoods that we set up. So I do want to just show you real quickly what the actual neighborhood page looks like. So I'm going to go and hit preview. And when you send it off to your client, they're going to have a list of all the different neighborhoods we set up, as you can see. Gives you some updates about the area currently. So this is a piece of Tenafly. And these are all landing pages. So if I click on 37 Walnut, for example, it's going to take me to a listing page with all the details about that listing, when it was listed, who it's listed by, some home details. This is actually listed here. So we found a Keller Williams one. Property details. You also have access to the MLS ID, which is useful. Little tidbits about the neighborhood as well. Homes for sale, average days on market, what the average home price is. Mortgage calculator, so you can actually do your mortgage calculator in here as well. That's built in. And then you can see things like the history, similar homes in the area. And then because I did my marketing profile earlier, it's going to have my branding on it. So you can see here it has my name, what office I'm currently with, my phone, and my email. This form here is also a lead capture. So if somebody filled this out, it would go directly into my database. Let me scroll back up real quick so you can just see the other piece that's in this. So under neighborhood stats, and you can see here under neighborhood stats currently, it's going to show you things like the average home price, average days on market, if there's any sold stats, because this is updating currently, it might not show it right away, but it would give you sold stats as well. Transit and commute times I actually like a lot too, so that gives you the ability to see on a Google map how far or how long it would take you to get to a certain place if you were commuting from this location. So for example, if I'm working down in New York, I might want to know how long it would take me to get to Penn Station from here. So from here I can select Penn Station, and then it's going to give me some insights on how long it would take me to drive there, biking, if you're going to bike, if you're feeling daring, or if you're really feeling up to it, you can take a walk. It'll be 4 hours. Right now it doesn't currently have public transport, which I'm hoping they add soon, because for here at least it would be useful to have maybe like a bus or a train. So that will be some feedback I'll give to them. This is one other thing that I like as well. This is your kind of like points of interest, so different places you can see. And right now it's showing me stuff from Yelp. So right now we have Pizza Nova right across the street, Polly's up the street, and then you see some of the yogurt places, Subway, Criminals, cool. So these are all just places of interest. And then again, it's going to have homes for sale and recently sold. And as you can see, this was something that all I did was put in a neighborhood that I wanted to search, and it generated this automatically. I didn't have to do anything for this. Now, to set up my client to receive this, all I would have to do is, again, I'm in my contact card still, I didn't go anywhere. I want to go to Add to Smart Plan, and that's over here in the Smart Plans tab. And I want to go to Add to Smart Plan. And what I can do from here is I can go through the list, and if you don't have these on your list, you actually just have to go into Smart Plans first and then add them to your library. Otherwise, right now I do have my monthly neighborhood nurture set up, and all I would have to do is hit select, and then that would add them to that neighborhood search. Yep.
I noticed that the delay, it said, when I saw it, it said like 3 steps, 31 duration, 1 touch.
Yeah.
So 31 duration, that means like there's 31 days in between each touch.
So for a monthly neighborhood nurture, the first touch goes out immediately after you set it up. 30 days later, that's the delay, and then the day right after that, it's going to send out the next month of the email. So it's going to be almost like a newsletter format.
Right, but I mean, that's what the duration refers to.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Is there any way that you create a custom plan to
You'll be able to very soon, and then you can create your own kind of your own intervals of how long you would want it to be sent out. Because I know like a while back they were supposed to have like daily neighborhood nurtures where it would be sent out every day. So I think once we have the custom ones, we can set up the frequency however we want. Maybe I want them to get it every week, maybe every Friday. With the custom smart plans, I'll be able to set up what date they get it, how often they get it. And that's something that's supposed to be coming hopefully at Family Reunion. I'll be on the lookout for it. What's that? I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so the custom smart plans are something I'm actually attending a class for out there, so we'll see.
They don't want them in school, they'll leave them.
They can unsubscribe from it. Yeah, exactly. So if you wanted to, that's a different class, but if you wanted to be able to mass export a list of contacts, you would have to use PySync, because right now within Command you can only export 50 at a time, which is too time consuming. That's something I can show you how to do the PySync though, which would be easier. I'll do a class on that because I think it would be a lot easier. I was doing that with some agents earlier this week. It worked, so I'll be doing a class on that. I'll set it up for March. All right, so just getting back into my contact card again. I didn't leave. I'm still here. There's a couple other things that you can actually set up in here that are useful. Now, tasks. If you're familiar with tasks, these are things that you can set up specifically for this person. And this can be a reminder that maybe I have to call them today, or maybe I have to send them a get well card, I don't know. Or maybe I even have to just follow up with them. We met at an open house and I want to just talk to them about it. That can be something I can set up as a task reminder. And you can see here what I can do. I can say call to follow up. And we can say maybe it's due on Friday. Maybe I want it to be due at a specific time. So I'll say I need to call him around 9 a.m. And this can be, let's say, call to follow up about the open house last weekend. You can also add a hyperlink there if you needed to. Otherwise, if I hit create task, that's going to create a reminder that now I have to call this person. I'll get that actual reminder tomorrow morning probably from my phone in Kelly.
all of these are applicable only when you identify the one contact each area. It's
Correct. So this is all for just this specific client. Now, one other thing. A hyperlink can just be like maybe I have to remind myself to send them like an invite for something, and that can be the hyperlink that I need to send them. That can be something, or maybe I have to send them a PDF document. That can be a link to a PDF. Could be something like that. Correct. That would be a smart plan, and that would be probably more so like a custom one, which will be available soon.
Chris,
Yeah.
quick question on the smart plans, do you get notified, I mean, is there a reminder that comes to you?
Yeah. So you get the notification two ways. You'll get it through the Kelly app, and then you'll also get a notification on your dashboard when you log into Command. There'll be a task list there, and then that will remind you whether or not I have to call this person today, or I have to set this person up on a neighborhood search, or I have to send them an email, etc. All those task reminders will come through on the main dash, and then through your Kelly app as well.
So all that you do is driving us towards those classes. So basically, make our open page.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like the easiest way really to be in Command too is basically just starting with the contacts, or starting with one app that you can get or do on a really high level. And I feel like right now within the contact card, you can do a lot of things just from being in this one screen. And I think it makes it less intimidating as well, because like I know I can go in here, or I can set them up on an opportunity, I can put my tasks in. Oh, I want to set them up on a save search. Well, I can do that here as well, which is the next thing. Yeah. So I've been seeing under the KWCommand Facebook groups that it's currently an error on KWRI, and it's not actually removing them from the smart plan, but I think it's just kind of resetting it. I have to look through the comments again, but yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to look at it again, because that was something that I saw that KWRI was currently working on fixing. So the last thing that I can do in here is the save search functionality, which actually creates a save search from my website. And what I can do from here is, if I know exactly where they were looking to buy, for example, I can go into create a save search, which is right here under save searches. And I can set them up on a quick save search. So let's just say looking in Alpine. We'll just use that as the example. Primary email is set up. Now I can search by either a neighborhood if they were looking for something very local, or I can do by zip code. And off the top of my head, I don't know the zip code for Alpine. So I might want to go here where it says find on a map, and I can actually kind of just pinpoint specific areas that I want to cover. So in this case, I just want to select this one here, and maybe I'll also select this part here, depending on where they're looking. And then I'll close this map out. So it's selected two areas, Alpine and then East Hill. These are neighborhoods. Now what I can also do is set up the minimum max price that they're looking in. So let's say we're going to look between $350 and $500. Yeah. Let's up it up. Maybe they're feeling lucky. Maybe they're feeling lucky now. They won the lottery, so we're going up to $1 million. There we go. I think, 10 million was that? There we go. So they upped it up to $1 million, and we'll put the minimum price as 700, something like that. This is something I also like as well. You can set up keywords. So keywords can be specific features of the home that they might be interested in. Things like pools. It can be something like NYC views. It can be, if they're looking, yeah. if they're looking in something like in Jersey City, for example, maybe they want a rooftop that they can hang out in. That can be something that you can add as a keyword. And it actually will scan the details of the listing and then try its best to give you back search results. So that's something that I thought was really cool. I'll just put in pool for now. And then as far as the property types that you can search for, it does give you a pretty big list. You know, you don't have to select all of them, but they have them there. Listing status, it says for sale, active, pending, coming soon. Currently, it doesn't let you set up a search for a rental, but they do have rentals on the website. That's something I've sent feedback about, so I'm hoping to hear back about that soon. Bed and bathrooms, again, set up whatever bed and baths you want. Minimum max year built. Living area, that's the square footage. And then you can also select some additional items like whether or not it has parking, whether or not the price was reduced in the last 7 days, and then also open house data. Because you can see on the website open house information. So once you set them up on a saved search and you hit create, they're going to get an email from you with a list of properties and their criteria. And then what's also going to be able to happen is that you'll get the updates on your timeline here, and you'll be able to see exactly, you know, whether or not they were looking at some properties, if they favorited anything or saved anything. And this will also be something that's connected with the consumer app coming soon as well. And it's all going to come pretty much like full circle. So it's going to be Command, consumer app, and then your mobile version of Command, which is Kelly currently. Yeah.
These are, this is essentially the same program that
Very similar.
so what are you suggesting that once you create this new command to just search?
So I think at least with the MLS, you could do probably a very detailed search for them. But I think even through here, once they have that search set up and they're going and visiting your website, they can do a search for anything there. So it's very much going to be like, could very well replace the MLS.
Right, and the thing is that what we would also do is that track.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's definitely going to be a driver to your consumer experience. So if you notice now, I was on the Remax site the other day, and they actually started changing their website too. So now they have a website that's very similar to Zillow. If you haven't looked on their site, just take a look at it. It's very similar. But I think that's a lot of what the consumer looking for properties, and that's what KW has been developing for like the last couple years. Pretty wild. But in any case, again, I didn't exit anywhere out of this screen to do any of this stuff, and you just saw all these different things I was able to do just from being under my contacts records. And that's what I wanted to really go over today, is just to show you all the different things you can do in here and not have to leave this screen. So it makes it a little bit less intimidating to go through. So what I would suggest doing, and I did record this as well, in fact, even create like a sample one and just play around with all the different tools in here and just get a feel for how everything works. And you know, if you ever have questions, you can always reach out. But I think that would basically cover everything. Was there any additional questions?
Yeah, but I don't know, it's not related specifically to this, it's more like in terms of the ownership.
Yeah.
Was the home something like, for example, David and I are working on a specific neighborhood.
Yeah.
We're not a formal team, we're
Yeah.
just doing this as an ad hoc thing.
Yeah.
Is there a way of us saying under ownership, which we're on the fall, or is there something, this is something that has to go through that?
Correct. Yeah, and right now it can only be owned under one specific person, but then you can also assign it. And I believe right now, if you're assigning contacts to somebody, it has to be through a team account. But I can look into that a little bit more. But as far as I know,
Because, you know, like, I think that there were, you know, like there were a couple of agents that
Yeah.
If we're sitting out and it has to be split at 50/50,
Yeah.
it's not really a team.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
There's no reason that they shouldn't have access to the same thing that
Yeah.
vice versa.
For sure. And I can look into that. But I know within team functionality, that is something that you're able to do is set up kind of like assigning a contact to somebody or sharing a contact. So I'll look into that a little bit more.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, it's okay. Go ahead.
What's up?
It's about email address. When I try to put the person in contact to smartplan, and the smartplan doesn't accept it, so I didn't know that, and later I hear that, oh, this person doesn't have any email, just a name and an address.
Yeah.
Email.
Yeah.
But another thing is that if the email address is not correct, it is incorrect. The smart plan or command knows this email is not correct.
I know a while back they were talking about a way where it can kind of weed out bad emails,
Yeah.
but I haven't heard anything new about that in a while. And that was something that Josh team has spoken about before, like the ability to be able to kind of tell whether or not an email is
Yeah,
not
so
real.
when I use home actions, they know it's not
Yeah. Yeah.
email.
That could be something that they have developed with the new mailing tool, but I'll find out probably at family reunion, hopefully. All right, any other questions?
Yes, I have a question as a beginner, as you know. So I've been using this like old version of KWCommand, right?
Yeah.
This new thing is just like, adding a little bit more details of the tools that can see everything else like all together.
Correct.
Like, how can I can we see like move all this content that I used to have in my own KWCommand
Yeah.
to here?
You could. You'll
I
have to.
need to like do it if I want.
You'll have to do a sync with PySync. So if you're using eEdge currently, the best way to do it is through Google Contacts. And I'll do a class on that next month. But if you want to sit down like one-on-one, we'll do that because I think there's a lot of like bits and pieces that you have to do for it first that I suggest. So like that's something I can go over with you at another time. All right. Any other additional questions? Cool. All right. Thanks.